in my pocket, but it seemed to be that the elderly still can dream and have the ambition of the young, for which I remember them. And because of that, I remember them. And let me give you a checklist. We and the UAE are increasing our production capacity. We and the UAE are increasing our refining and liquid to chemicals. We and the UAE are approaching hydrogen with the porosity that is required, both blue and green. In fact, we are working in standardizing hydrogen being clean hydrogen. Without the tag of gray or blue or green or even pink. We and the UAE are reaching out to the energy mix that of tomorrow and the future, because we cannot afford but to put together a modern energy system that can give us the calling of this conference, which is secure, sustainable, and affordable energy system. We and the UAE are working diligently hard to prove the carbon sequestration is one solution out of many that we and the industry should work hard and laboriously to achieve in mitigating. We and the UAE, talking about climate change, we are working hard to fulfill our commitments of net zero by a certain time. We and the UAE are members of the Net Zero Forum and the Methane Initiative and Mission Innovation and every other forum and the Carbon Sequestration Forum and every other forum that can put us at par, if not leading in bringing these solutions. We and the UAE have an ambitious, young, ambitious, determined population that cannot and would not stand us sitting, doing nothing in preparing for their better future to come. And because of that, we and the UAE are going to be the exemplary producer, hydrocarbon producers, but also achieve all the sustainability goals. And because of that, and indeed, We have just recently closed our FII in Riyadh, and now we are here. But look at the many events that we've been hosting, both in the Kingdom and the UAE. And ask yourself why and what is the cause for us attending to these activities, putting it together in our countries, because we're proud to show everybody that we are there, we're proactive, and we are going to be attentive. Nothing of the callings of the today would prevent us from focusing and concentrating on the future. Because if we lose the focus in the future, we will repeat what is going on today. And because of that, and I would urge everybody to learn from the today's affairs, that in order to attend to the present, we must not let go the future. I am honored, Your Highness, to be here with you. There is so much that we could prove together in our twinning, if I call it, aspiration, that we will continue. And again, knowing the determination of our people, your people, that we should continue to be the exemplary two countries for an energy producers, because we no longer are called oil producers. We are an energy producer. And because of that, we need these events to reoccur. And we need the knowledge sharing to happen. And we need to bring serious people to become with us, involved with us in bringing these solutions. Breaking the so-called energy constraints will take a lot of brains, a lot of investments, a lot of technologies that will have to evolve, without which we cannot approach the future with the right recipes that we are committed to deliver. With that, we need to work also with our friends in Egypt to make their COP27 a successful one, because we need to build from that success to another success, hopefully next year in Abu Dhabi, when Abu Dhabi hosts the COP28. We don't owe it to anybody but us. Our countries also have similarities. It was done for us, by us, for our future. And we need to commit ourselves to that too. Thank you.
Thanks. That has a rhythm to it, Your Royal Highness. We in the UAE, I'll probably remember that going into ADIPEC 2023. Thanks again for making the trip here and your brief but very direct comments about the energy transition. What a year it's been since we were here last year. We started the year with very strong demand for oil and gas, of course. The taps were closed, not completely, but with supplies going into Europe, it's triggered inflation, and then this need to reinvest into the sector and not lose sight of the medium-term goal, now becoming a near-term goal, and that is the energy transition, as we say here, for secure and affordable and sustainable energy. That's the theme of our panel today. Let's give a warm welcome to our panelists. First, the Minister of Energy from the UAE, Suhail Faraj Al Mazroui. Please, come on up. His Excellency Shri Hardip Singh Puri, Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, also Housing and Urban Affairs. Welcome back to ADIPEC. His Excellency Tariq El Molla, the Minister of Petroleum and also Mineral Resources from the great country of Egypt. Good to see you back at ADIPEC 2022. And Amos Hochstein, the Special Presidential Coordinator. He's changed titles recently because of the role he's playing around the world. Welcome of the United States. Amos, come on up to the stage, and he's going to frame our debate here at ADIPEC with a brief introduction on some of the key issues we see in the energy market. A warm welcome to him as well. Thanks.
Mic is not on. Mic.
Go ahead, try again.
Your Highness, Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Your Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, and of course, Your Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, most importantly, my friend and great leader of the energy system in so many places around the world. It's a pleasure to be here today representing the United States government and President Biden. The relationship between the United States and the United Arab Emirates is strong, long-standing, broad, and enduring. We have fought, bled, and mourned together as we have triumphed, made peace, and innovated together. And now we must join forces to lead an energy transition. The world is facing extraordinary challenges, from war and a devastating war in Europe, to a pandemic that has altered the way of our lives, to economic uncertainty. And through all of this, the one constant is a worsening climate crisis. We at this gathering, governments and companies, must all do our part. And we must focus on doing two things at the same time, as has been the theme of the previous speakers. The first, ensure we have a sufficient energy supply to maintain global economic growth, including investment in carbon-efficient production and refining. And the second, at the same time, accelerating the transition to a cleaner, healthier, and more diversified and decarbonized energy system. The United States is investing in both. We have taken steps this past year to ensure economic growth continues throughout the world through oil and LNG supply. And we have made the largest ever investment in climate, in advanced clean technology, in electric vehicles adaptation, and in the supply chains for all of the above. But the extraordinary investment by the United States and the extraordinary investments we've just heard from the United Arab Emirates and others is just not enough. This is a global crisis, and therefore it requires global solutions. So regardless of where you are on the energy spectrum, we must all invest and innovate towards achieving a more decarbonized net zero world. I'm grateful to the United Arab Emirates for once again convening us all here, as Prince Abdulaziz just said, so that we can have the greatest minds in the world, in the global energy system, in the integrated and interconnected energy system, to come up and discuss solutions for how do we live through this world where we have our short-term goals, our medium-term goals, living in harmony, investing in the energy system that we require and need in order to have that economic growth, while still growing and in our investments in the energy transition, where the goals that we have set are clearly now too far away. We need to make them sooner and more urgent than ever before. Thank you again for hosting, and I look forward to the panel discussion and for this week.
Thank you. Did you say it was short enough? Direct and to the point. That's what we like, particularly with Dr. Sultan's clock today. I'm just going to remind our panel we have 15 minutes for our discussion, which allows it for really highly focused to do 2 rounds very quickly. I'm going to start with His Excellency, Minister Mazrui. In retrospect now, looking at both the OPEC numbers that have come out since the October decision, and looking at, say, even results from Amazon or from Meta, the former Facebook, was it a wise decision, a calibration? And the second layer of that, is OPEC and OPEC Plus ready to move if necessary, if we have a surprise uptick in demand? We want to tackle that, and we'll move forward.
Well, thank you, John. And it's great to be here in this international event. And we're talking about energy. So I think it's beyond just talking about oil or crude oil. The challenge that the world is facing, as it was clear in His Excellency Dr. Sultan, is more than just oil. We need to look at the gas, we need to look at the whole spectrum of energy. And more than anything else, we need to focus on ensuring that we have enough efforts in renewable energy, in hydrogen and others. And I can assure you that we in the United Arab Emirates, as well as our fellow colleagues in OPEC Plus, are keen on supplying the world with the requirement it needs. But at the same time, we're not the only producers in the world. We are producing less than 50% of what is produced, and there are others who need to do also their part in investing and encouraging investments, as we need it more than ever to complement the role of renewable energy that the world is facing. But for us here in the UAE, I can assure you that we are doing everything we can to supply the world, but at the same time, we are focused on doing it as and. So oil and the others, and we need everything. And we have a very clear strategy thanks to our leadership. We are focused on diversifying the energy sources, and we are focused on reducing our emission. And as His Highness always tells us, Sheikh Mansour, he is always keen on us being at maximum efficiency in everything that we are doing, reducing the emission as well as reducing the consumption, because reducing the consumption is as important as reducing the emission.
Okay, very good. Very quickly, within 15 seconds, you mentioned to me you're only a phone call or a Zoom call away if the demand rose. I mean, OPEC Plus remains flexible. It's not an agreement locked in stone, Your Excellency.
Well, that is always the case. We have a mechanism to get together if the requirements are there. But this technical organization is always going to stay as a trusted technical organization taking a decision and doing its best to balance the supply and demand. So that is our commitment. And if there is a requirement, like we have done it so many times in the past, we are only a phone call away if the requirements are there. And we said this so many times before.
Thank you for the clarity. Minister Puri, I saw you at Gastech in September in Milan of this year, and you were saying then that there was a squeeze on the Indian consumer, and you were looking for a variety of sources for both oil and gas, and you have this target to try to get to 50% of renewable capacity by 2030. What I see is a bit more flexible. It's not locked in stone right now. Do you think, A, to Minister Mazroui's point, you're getting access to the energy you're looking for the consumer? It's not too much pressure on the economy. And B, do you needed that flexibility to 2030 because of the energy security supply shock that we had in 2022?
I would put it a little differently. There is pressure on the economy because the scale at which we are working to supply the energy needs of 1.34 billion people and energy availability, we have not had any situation where petrol, diesel or gas has not been available, but it has a cost to it. And I think all policy decisions have consequences, direct and intended and unintended. One of the unintended consequences, perhaps it's a good consequence, is that when prices rose, on the one hand, there's inflation, movement towards a global recessionary condition, but in India, it has also galvanized the movement in the other direction. There's billions of dollars coming in to look at, for instance, the ecosystem for electric vehicles. We've done the transition on biofuels from 1.4%, we've reached 10% blending. We are going to 20% blending in the next 2 years, bringing the target of 2030 down. We're going in a big way on compressed biogas. Plus, more than that, we've opened up 1 million square kilometers. We have a total of 3.5 million square kilometers of sedimentary basin, 1 million square kilometers of that sedimentary basin, which was no-go area. We've opened it out to international investment. So all the major oil entities, some of them have very advanced arrangements with us, with our companies. Others are coming in. Because in order to make that transition, whatever your transition date is, you have to survive the present. And the survival of the present cannot be on terms of entire economies. There are countries around the world where you, for the love of money, you cannot access energy. Now, I'm not going into the causation as to why it happened. underinvestment, whatever happened subsequently. But I think the transition itself would be severely undermined if the current ability, especially large consuming countries, is not cushioned in order to make that transition. In India, we feel very confident of being able to make it. We feel confident because we have both domestic thing. I saw Minister Sultan talk about green ammonia supply from here to Hamburg. We have our company supplying there as well. One of our companies signed an agreement with the Singapore authorities to supply green ammonia to run their new generation G plants. All that we will do. But I still make the point that the immediate, because I was very encouraged by the saying that this is realism and optimism. Our host, Minister Sultan said that. And I think it's always a good start to a morning if you are able to also focus on the realism part of it and say it how it is. So I think high energy prices have, without any doubt, and I don't think there's a counter narrative, we won't go into the reason. They have a consequence which we need to factor in, but I think one of the unintended causes is that many of us are now going to diversify. We are going to look at alternate areas, alternate energy sources, etc., faster than we had originally envisaged.
Thank you very much for being direct on that and the conundrum that you're in right now. Tariq Amola, Your Excellency, there's this real challenge, and everybody knows you had your 25 years of commercial experience before taking the ministry, both the need for rapid decarbonization, but also dealing with energy security, and it's been a game changer what's happened in the Eastern Med with Egypt. Is the industry capable of doing both missions at a rapid pace, do you think? And let's watch our time. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I have to start by addressing Zionist Sheikh Mansour for the hospitality and my dear colleagues and friends, Excellencies, Dr. Sultan and Engineer Sohail, His Excellency, for the invitation. I'm really happy to be among this distinguished panelists and to attend again this important event, ADIPEC. Well, it is an important question, and I want to tell you that Dr. Sultan has said it all, and His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz has also confirmed it. So what we are doing currently in Egypt is no different than other places. We are working all together in parallel. Definitely, we have to start by saying we have been blessed that we have some gas where we were able, with this additional gas, to secure some exports and to connect with our neighboring countries and to form what is called the East Mediterranean Gas Forum in order to cooperate together in this resource. Meanwhile, in parallel, as we said, So we are blessed, we have sun, we have wind, and we are working very hard to have also this developed in parallel. So we have an ambitious plan to reach before the year 2030 of an about 40% of our electricity developed by renewables. And one of these are like agreements and arrangements with Masdar to have a 10 giga in the coming few years. So what we are doing in parallel is diligently to work hard, but meanwhile to decarbonize our hydrocarbon projects, and also, and part of the important actions that we are taking with our partners, and these are actually our partners, the international energy companies, with their technologies and their approach, we are able to demonstrate that we can develop our resources with less emissions. And this is what we said. We need more energy with less emissions. And I think that since we've mentioned the Sharm el-Sheikh COP27 next week, inshallah, so we have been able to demonstrate and to be able to have a dedicated thematic day, which is the decarbonization day. And this is the 11th of November for the first time ever at any of the COPs. And this is because we said from the beginning, we want this COP to be an implementation COP. And we'll take it from there to demonstrate among the globe with our energy companies and partners that we can develop our resources with less emissions for a longer term. And this will be like the beginning of a thread for our brothers in the UAE to host their COP next year as well in COP28, inshallah.
Great. So Egypt representing Africa, of course, and the UAE representing West Asia and COP28. Amos Hochstein, in my coverage for CNN, I remember after the 2010 wild swings of going to 147 then down to 30, I was asking the question, what is the Goldilocks price for oil? Not too hot, not too cold, but it encourages investment, which is not a strain on the consumer. Would we say we're there now at around 87 for US WTI, 95-ish for Brent? And what does it mean for U.S. investment? One of the things Suhail Masrouri said is that the underinvestment in that oil and gas sector has been quite shocking, because we had nearly 500 companies go bankrupt since 2016 going into shale. What is the balance, would you suggest? And is the U.S. willing to invest more in oil and gas while it pursues the transition itself?
Well, John, I think I will shock no one by not answering you about what the right price of oil is in the world. Look, I think at the end of the day, we are facing an economic uncertainty globally because of the variety of conditions that Dr. Sultan mentioned before. This perfect storm that exists, from geopolitical events to coming out of a pandemic to global growth, and while having strong economic growth in the United States, while at the same time talking about whether or not we're having these potential recession challenges. And energy is such a critical piece. The price of energy is a critical piece for global economic growth, because so much of what we do is dependent on that. Our food prices are food. We are a farm to truck, or to ship to truck to table. So everything that happens that we do and consume is dependent on energy price. So energy prices have to be priced in a way that allow for economic growth, and if they are not, then it will accelerate, they will rise too high and accelerate an economic downturn, which ultimately is the one thing that will be terrible for energy demand itself and price. We have to continue to invest. We have called on our companies in the United States, and we hope that this happens around the world, to increase investment in production, investment in refining capacity, and we need to do that at the same time that we are calling on increased investment on the energy transition. They're not contradictory, they're just two different timelines. It may be that our climate goals are, we're talking about 2050 and 2035, but to get to those goals, you have to invest yesterday. And to get to those goals, we still have to have the reality of the economy that we have today, and that we need more investment right now and yesterday and tomorrow in the oil and gas sector as well.
Okay. I could go for another 20 minutes, but we don't have them today. I wanted to talk to you about your update on the targets for 2050 to the UAE. We'll have to save it for the other discussions that are taking place here at ADIPEC. His Excellency Suhail Masrouri, the Minister Puri from India again. Great to see you, and thanks for the direct answers. His Excellency Tariq Al-Molla, is always a pleasure. And Amos, it's terrific that you decided to put ADIPEC 2022 on the horizon here and share your thoughts on the transition in the United States. President Biden had a substantial infrastructure bill which has a lot of money built into emissions reductions and infrastructure renewal in the United States. Can we give them a warm round of applause? Thank you very much. And just to close out our opening ceremony, Dr. Sultan, excellent speech as always. Sheikh Mansour, it's a pleasure to see you again. Thank you very much. Sheikh Khalid, great to see you in person. Sheikh Nayan, it would be remiss if I didn't say thanks. It's great to see you as always. His Royal Highness, thanks for putting ADIPEC 2022 on your agenda, giving a very direct, we in the UAE speech today. Some highlights that are coming. Hadley Gamble's got a Chief Executive Officer roundtable you want to see at 2 o'clock. We're going to do the World Oil Outlook with OPEC at 4:30 in this hall as well. And we have a ministerial taking place at 1 o'clock. Nice round of applause. Thank you very much for your attention this morning.